Okay, perfect. Well, good morning. Good morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this session's Playing to Win. I am super, super, uber excited to have my dear friend, Cody Gibson, as the star of the show today. So first of all, welcome, Cody, to Playing to Win here in Austin, Texas.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Oh, we're gonna have so much fun now. Now, Cody and I go way back, you guys. So you are in for such a treat. Cody's career is very impressive. If you don't know Cody Gibson, you need to know Cody Gibson. And as you know, we record these and they're in our library and we send out to lots of people. So I'm just excited to share you with somebody that may not know you, although I don't think there's very many that don't know you because you're really special guys. So, but let me tell you, if you don't know who, let me let a couple more people in. A little bit about Cody. So he's the owner and CEO of Portland Real Estate Group and United Home Group, UHG, founded in 2011. UHG is currently operating over 115 cities, 28 states, 5 countries with over 200 partners. That's amazing. That you had in 2020 over 1,087 sales, projected to put 1,500 homes under contract this year. Put 147 homes under contract in 1 month. That's incredible. MAP's Bold Coach for Keller Williams for over 10 years. And I can say I've been trying to get you for many of those in those last 10 years. Operating partner of 3 KW office, director of expansion recently. Congratulations for Keller Williams International. Very excited. He's been in real estate for over 20 years. I'm not sure if the turkey and long walks on the beach part is important for everyone to get. To know, but he likes long walks on the beach and a good turkey sandwich. So there you go. So Cody, we're super happy to have you.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That's incredible.
I know you don't like the bios. You're like, just say this is my friend Cody.
Every time I hear him, it's always like my internal dialogue is always, that's what you've done, not what you're doing. So it's like, cool, that's in the past. Like that was yesterday. That was last week. That stuff doesn't even exist anymore. That's what always goes through my mind when I think about that.
Right, exactly. And yet it's pretty amazing because it also sets you up for a great tomorrow, right? Because the zebra doesn't change his stripes. Well, like Gary Keller said, I thought was really cool. It's like every day when you wake up, you have an opportunity, right? To run towards, or a choice to make. You run towards opportunity or you're running away from pain. And you obviously are somebody that's always running towards opportunity. And I know that it's not that you don't have pain, because I know that you do. I want to start though with about 2011. Okay. Because 2011 was a really interesting year, my dear, because you were a very successful team leader in Alaska. That's where you and I met. And I was in Reno. And in January 2011, I moved to Austin to stay on this team leader path. And you had a brief, you moved to Oregon, and then you said, I'm going back and I'm going to build my empire. So you are probably the most successful person I've seen move from being a really successful team leader in our company to going and building what you've built. Because not really many people have your story in our company. So I would love, I think that's inspiring. Like, we had Paul Campanaro, who was just almost 4 years a team leader with us here, right? And he's now building his mega empire with us after a team leader role. And he and I were having that same conversation. How did you do that? Because that's so impressive. Let's just start with that. Like, how did you get back in action so quickly?
One of the things is that I think hitting your goals matters. I think hitting your goals in a certain time frame doesn't matter as much. And here's what I mean by that. I was a mediocre real estate agent originally. When I was on my own from 2000 to 2006, before KW found me, I worked hard. I sold as many as 92 homes in a year without a team, but it wasn't like I wasn't a business. I sold a lot of homes and talked to a lot of people, and I was tired of it. And when KW found me, I was like, oh my gosh, there's a whole different way of doing business. And maybe I'd been living under a rock. So the whole time that I was a team leader, successful, sort of successful, whatever title you want to put on it, the whole time, what kept going through my mind was, I wonder what I could do with this now. Like, if I could go back and redo those years, 2000 to 06, what could life look like? What could my business look like? And so I don't like things undone. Like, I just don't. And so for me, in 2010, when I began moving back towards going into production, And that's really how I see it, right? Some people say going back to production. In my mind, it was always, going to production. I didn't know what I didn't know. I had no freaking idea. And I don't like undone boxes. And it's okay with me that it took me a long time to get back to it. I think that time frames are human. And I think that goals are a choice. I think they're two different things.
I love that, because I remember you also saying something like you really got quickly into building the business though, right? When you went back in, didn't you go really quickly into building a business that you didn't have before?
My rule internally was, and I said for the first year, and I ultimately never did any, but when I first did it, I was like, all right, I'm going to see if I can do it without ever meeting a client. Like without ever going on a single showing or a single listing, which isn't entirely fair because I had 6 years of doing that before being a team leader for 5. So I had it in my background,
Right?
like I had it in my experience. But in Portland, Oregon, I didn't know anybody. The only people I knew were a couple of mega agents who were not going to buy or sell with me. And so like for me, it was like, how do I jump in and build it in a linear fashion just as a business? Not use personality, not use style, not use just a business. And I remember the coach that I wanted to work with, Tony DeCello, I was like, hey, will you coach me? And he said, no. And I said, well, come on. And he goes, you're not successful enough. And I said, well, yeah, but I said, I'm going to sell 100 homes my first year in Portland without ever going on an appointment. And he said, that's interesting. I'll do it. And that was the comment that got him to spend the time with me. And charge me for it. That's how coaching works. And so, but we did it. We went and did 103 units that year. And I didn't meet a single buyer or seller, which meant, to your point, long roundabout answer, it was jumping directly in, which also meant I had to go hire people. And so the first 3 agents I interviewed, one of them was like, listen, this sounds good, but I looked in the MLS. You've never sold a single house here. You have 0 listings and you're asking me to join your team. And I'm like, I know, it's going to be great. And she ultimately said no. But the one who said yes went on to make a bucket of money with me.
Right. That's amazing. So that's really, really cool because you have so many people that struggle in the business, right? And they're going on those appointments and they don't ever take the time to like kind of helicopter up and look at leverage and things like that. And you went right to leverage.
I was afraid if I did it, I would never leave it. I really like the deals. I really like, oh, if we do this, will the buyer do that? Will the seller? I enjoy that. Like I love negotiating, love it. And I love people and I love solving problems. And I also, those all sound cool and they're applauded. What I also love is being needed, which isn't always applauded. And so for me, I knew that if I went, and if I started working with them, I was afraid I'd never stop because I would get addicted to constantly being needed again. I would be like, oh, I always get to save the day. Like that's an internal, that's not so great. That's just me fulfilling a need. And I was afraid if I went, I'd never stop. And so if I didn't let myself go, I'd never be in that position. I'd be forced to do it like a business.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Okay, so this is a question I always ask all my guests as, what does playing to win look like to you, Cody?
For me, it's real simple, right? Like the idea behind playing to win is, again, I don't really give a damn about time frames. I just don't. Like I set a goal and I'll put a time frame to it, but that's like predicting the future, which so far I'm 50-50 at best. I don't freaking know, but I know that winning's a habit and I know losing's a habit. And the more I allow myself to lose at something, I just begin losing at everything. And so for me, playing to win is being willing to take a chance, being willing to fail, and being willing to say, I don't have the right answer yet. Like I don't have the right person yet, but I'm also not dead, which means I get another shot.
Right, exactly. Which means the big buzzer did not go off and it's not game over, right? You still have it every day. You have a choice, right? Yeah.
You can't beat somebody who won't give up. Can't be done. And you could look and be like, you should stop. You should literally stop getting up, but they keep getting up. And as long as you're willing to do that, I don't know what you can't do. Like we all have limits. I don't know what they are.
Yeah. I love that. That's so cool. Okay. So let's talk about that. You mentioned that. So in your opinion, Cody, because you've bold coach, I mean, you've coached a lot of people. I've seen your whole leadership path that you do a lot of things. What do you think holds people back from succeeding?
Doubt.
Yeah.
Like for most, it's just doubt. And the second one, doubt's the first one, but the second one is laziness. They're just flat ass lazy. Like if you just call it what it is,
Yeah.
they would like to like to be that person, but it's just lip service. They really don't want to be that person. It's almost like, it's like saying, oh, I really want to be fit. And you go, well, okay, you say that with your mouth, but you don't say that with your actions. Two totally different things.
Yeah.
And then you say, well, here's all the things it looks like and all the things it takes to be fit, whatever you want to fill in the blank with. And they go, oh, yeah, I don't really want to do that. I wish I wanted to do that, but I really actually don't have any desire to do that. So for me, it's laziness. They're just unwilling to do it. And then the third piece is we say things that we think we're supposed to say. And we put out goals that we think we're supposed to put out when they're not ours. They're not our true north. Like for somebody, we'll keep it in real estate for a second. If your goal is to sell 20 homes a year and do it with very little overhead and clear 150 or 200 grand, what the hell's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. But very few people will stand up and share that goal because it seems too small, or that's just judgment.
Yeah.
If that's your thing and you want to spend 5 hours a day doing a hobby, and this is going to make you almost 200 grand a year with no overhead, who gets to judge that?
Right.
And so instead, that person will stand up and say, I'm going to sell 100 homes. And they actually have no interest in doing it. They have zero interest in doing it. They really just want to sell 20 homes and they don't want to put very much time into it and they want to keep all the money. But they're just afraid of sharing the goal because it seems too small. Stop judging it. Just own it.
I love that. That is so true, Cody. We see that so often, right? Is like they say goals because they think that's what either we want to hear or what they're supposed to say or whatever. But if you're not, 100% committed, like knowing what you want in life is half the battle, isn't it? Like just having clarity on what matters to you.
I don't get any of these days back. And I don't like the days that I've spent living somebody else's life or living somebody else's truth or living somebody else's linear path. I don't get any of them back. And so I refuse to do it. And I always, this is kind of cheesy, but I remember, you know how Gary always has like a musician come to Mega Camp, right?
Yeah.
And it was Pam Rose like 10 or 12 years ago. And she sang that song, My Life.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times I've listened to that song 1,000 times. Yeah. And in Gary's office, he has the lyrics written that she wrote and like signed for him, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
She didn't sign one for me, but there's one on his office wall. And every time I'm in there, I read it and I think, My Life.
Yeah.
Like just choose yours and then get after it.
Oh man, I love that. And that's such a great song. So how did so you went into, you did 103 homes your first year without actually going on a single appointment yourself, because you completely leveraged yourself from the get-go. How did you evolve into expansion? Like, what did that look like?
Well, there's two things. Like the fun thing about selling 103 was that it sounds cool, but I also lost money.
Oh, wow.
And I was 100% good with that. Like I looked at it like if I was going to open a restaurant, I probably wouldn't make a profit the first 12 months.
Right.
And I was really okay with it. I was okay with it taking a couple of years. It ultimately took me 4 or 5, and I could do it faster today. But what I didn't realize was the term reinvested earnings. For 2 solid years, I beat the hell out of myself thinking I'm losing money. It's like, wait, no. And it took a MAPS coach that came in and said, you're not losing money, you idiot. You have a profit. You're just pumping it right back in to grow faster. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And he goes, that's called reinvested earnings. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I didn't know. I don't know. Like my only formal education has been KW. Yeah. Like this is where I've learned stuff. At the second quarter of the 10th grade, I never went back to school. And I never finished high school, never got a diploma. I went to work full time. And so KW has been like my education. I didn't know. Wow. And so anyway, so back to your original question. In the beginning for me, I kept hearing this battle cry, like Gary in 08, 09, timing is everything, is talking about selling in multiple markets, talking about expanding. And I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds cool. I didn't just want to be, no offense, I didn't just want to be the next mega agent on stage who had 10 buyer agents and 10 listing specialists and a runner and 15 staff. To me, that felt like it had already been done. It's cool and it's profitable, but it wasn't different. And I really wanted to do something that I could look back later and go, I did something different. I did something that created opportunity or opened a path. At the time, I would have been 30, 31. And so age in my life was perfect. And I remember Gary making the comment, he said, listen, at 30, he said, you could screw this up for a decade and still recover. He said, you could screw this up for 2 decades and probably still recover. And so I wanted to do something that hadn't been done, something that seemed different. And expansion 100% was different. And a handful of us went and did it, like all at that same time. Like 5 or 6 of us struck out and said, we're going to go do this. We don't really know what the hell it even is, but we're going to do it.
What was your first expansion location? Just curious.
I went to Tri-Cities, Washington, which is a little tiny town in the very southeast corner of Washington State. And we didn't have, there was no KW there, which meant my very first partner was at a different company, which was stupid. Like today, I'm just like, why would you, at the time, it sounded like such a good idea. And ultimately, like 20 months later, when I closed that location, we had lost about $250,000 there, and it was a disaster. But all the stuff I learned, losing that 250,000, dumb story sidebar. A year later, I was going through our P&L and I was paying for an iPhone. And I'm like, what's this doing on here? Somebody in the location had bought an iPhone and somehow I was paying for it. And it had like 2 years left on the contract. And my assistant goes, hey, do you want to just pay it? And I said, no, I want to see it every month to remind myself of what a dumbass I could be. So no, I want to see it. And so for the next 18 months or whatever was left, it's like $100 and something a month. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Sting to pay attention, right? What great
but
lessons,
I wanted to feel it.
Yeah, exactly. What great lessons. Okay. Well, speaking of the excitement for expansion and being a pioneer and doing something new. So you were most recently named at KWI. You're leading that for the whole country now. What are you most excited about with that whole next venture for you?
For me, it's about the opportunity of what truly is next. I think that in 3 years or 5 years, the idea of being an expansionist, somebody who sells in multiple cities or states or countries, I think will be just as mainstream as a local mega team. I think it'll be just as common. I mean, you and I could walk into any market center in the country and go, hey, where are all the teams? And they'd go, well, there's this team and this team and that team and that team. And these guys do it this way and she does it that way. And we go, oh, cool. I think expansion is going to take the same road. I think in 3 or 4 years, every market center you could walk into, you go, cool, where are the expansions? Oh, well, she's expanding this way and he's expanding that way. I think it'll be just as common. And so
cool.
For Keller Williams to say, we're going to open a division that is solely focused on expansion and solely focused on it winning for the expansionist and making it easy, and for the market center making it easy. Like, to me, when Gary explained that, I'm like, I'm in. Like, what do we need to go do? Like, how do we build that? Right. It's what we've been begging for since like the early teens, 2013, 2014, we had the conversation and we were like, Gary, what would it look like if we just had 50 brokerages across the country that were all just under the same umbrella? And it just wasn't the right time. Yeah. But it is today.
That's so exciting. It kind of just blows the ceiling off, right? Of anything. Okay. So what do you think your key is to massive success? I know we touched on this a little bit, but why do you think you personally you, Cody Gibson, why do you think you're so massively successful? And like you shared, my gosh, that one expansion partner cost you, $250,000, and your first hires or the first year you didn't make money, and yet today, look where you are, right? So what do you attribute that to? Because it's kind of like wherever you land, you just seem to come ahead of everyone else.
I think 3 things. I think 1, that statement is only true with enough time on the clock. If you'd have come by in 2012, you could have said, you suck at this and you should stop. If you came by in 2014, you probably could have said, Cody, you suck at this. You should probably stop, quit it. You come by in 2021, you go, oh, successful. All the stuff that you do when you're losing, just remember, there just hasn't been enough time on the clock yet. Okay. One of my favorite ideas is when a coach says, we didn't lose, we ran out of time. Like we were doing it right. It's just the game clock had to end at 60 minutes. Well, in business and in life, there's only one game clock, and the game clock is the last day that you're alive. And so as long as there's still time on the clock, you get to choose. Do I want to keep doing it? I get another quarter, I get another minute, I get another half, whatever inning, whatever sport you want to use, I still got time. And so if you give it enough time, you could win at anything. I'm only deemed successful from the outside looking in. I've never once looked down at my life and thought, you're succeeding at this. All I see is, here's what I'm losing at. All I see is, here's what isn't working. And somebody could come by and say that's a pessimistic idea. I don't know. I like to work on things that aren't working. I like to work on things that aren't right, but could be right. And so to me, I look down at the business and I go, oh, we're in 115 cities, but we could have been in 250. There's lots of space here. We're in 5 countries, boo-hoo. We could have been in 15. We just didn't start early enough. Keep going. Why I'm so driven to that, I have no idea. And I wish I did, but I don't. I suppose I could sit on a couch with a therapist who would probably help me understand that I'm probably overcoming something from childhood. I don't know. Right, no idea. Right.
It's in your DNA to be you're not, I love that quote you just said. If you give it enough time, you can win at anything.
If you care. And if you're not willing to give it time, then you didn't care that much. It's like the first time I hired a personal trainer, I was like, hey, how long is it going to take to get fit? And he looked at me and said, well, you didn't get this fat in a day. And I'm like, fair point. And so my thought, and whenever I coach somebody on something, and I used to do more one-on-one coaching, but when somebody asks me a lot of questions about how long, what I've understood over time is that they're not that committed to the process. If you're really, it's like saying, how long is it going to take to be an incredible mom? Probably your whole damn life. Yeah. How long is it going to take to be a great spouse? Probably as many days as you can stay married. You're probably never going to get there. This isn't a finish line of, oh, when I do this, then no, this is a process. How long is it going to take to be an amazing business? As long as you're willing to be one. This is an everyday, never cross the finish line kind of thing. And I think, for some people, if you went and talked to Gary, you said, hey, Gary, do you feel like you're successful? He would probably say, only compared to where somebody else is, but not compared to where I could be.
Yeah. That's
two different thoughts. Inside to the outside.
Yeah, I love that. Such a great answer. We talk about falling in love with real estate again and things like that. Tell me, what do you love about real estate? I mean, what an industry we're in, right?
At the end of the day, I'll say 2 things. Number one, at the end of the day, we still get to help people with their most, their most close possession, the home they live in. Now, it's one thing to sell somebody an investment property and that makes them money, blah, blah, blah. The reason I never went to commercial, which I love, is that I wanted to help people with where they lived. I wanted to help people with where they were going to put the damn Christmas tree, where they were going to do Sunday dinner. That's cool to me. And it's also I'm also really clear that it's not what I had growing up. And so most of us are trying to do something to replace what we didn't have. And so the idea of dinner at a kitchen table, that gives me goosebumps because I didn't do that, but I can do it today and I can help others do it. Yeah. The thing about real estate, though, there's never been a better time to be more human in our business. There's never been a better time to treat people better. And I'm excited for the day we're beginning to do it. I mean, we kind of, for a few years, we got really great at an industry of putting people on stage that would almost, and I've been guilty of it, that would almost brag about how distant they've become from their consumer. And I think right now it's time to do this with the consumer and take that distance away. And I'm excited for when we put more and more and more people on stage that say, hey, everybody, here's how I spent more time with my clients. Here's how I got to know the humans in it more than I knew yesterday. And I think that we kind of rubber banded with technology, but technology is only good if it allows you to spend more time with more human beings.
Yeah.
And so then we rubber band back and we go, oh, well, I'm going to leverage all this so I can actually spend more time talking to the people. And that's what's fun. And we're already seeing that happen. Like the agents who are becoming the most successful today are finding ways to spend more time with more of their people.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I agree. It's such a, especially if you're a relational person. I mean, it is the time to lean in on those relationships and think of the world we live in right now, right? Everyone is seeking community. I mean, there's never been an easier time or a more important time for people to call their database, right? And just check in on how are they actually doing mental health wise, right?
Just real life stuff, real life stuff, by the way, that can't be streamlined. The process can be streamlined, but the event isn't. And it was, Gary made the comment once, and I know I've said it, I've used, I mean, anything good that I say is usually just repeated from something that Gary said, but he made the comment once, he said, not everybody can matter all the time, but everybody can matter over time. And I think that's how you have to look at your database. It's like, no, they can't all matter at the same time, but over time, they could all matter. They all mean something.
Right. I love that. That's so good. Okay. So, 3 things that are important that an agent can do right now, in your opinion, to finish 2021 strong.
Oh, easy. This is the first week of September, which means you're actually already in Q1 of 2022. 2021 is basically over. You and I both know it takes 90 or 100 days for anything to go. So you need to quit thinking about 21, quit thinking about ending strong. The only thing you should be talking about is starting strong. 2022. And if you actually hit the goal of starting strong, it's going to pull you through ending strong. It's the same thing.
Exactly.
But it's not. The other thing is this, we get one shot every year at the amazing fourth quarter. This is the coolest time of the year. This is when you go to your database and you go, hey, I've talked to 2 holiday light hangers or 2 holiday light installers. I've prepaid for half of yours if you want to do it, which you do with influence, not with cash. That's the best way to do it. And then you send it to your database. That's touch 1. Touch 2, did you get it? Did you schedule it? Touch 3, how'd your holidays go? That's 3 amazing touches without ever having to ask for real estate business. This is the best time of year to do it. But if you don't do it right now, you're not going to do that in October. It's going to be too busy, too late. If you don't go, I used to do these Santa Claus letters for the kids in my database, and I would mail a letter and it would be pre-addressed to Santa Claus North Pole, blah, 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 blah. It was a great idea. And all the parents loved it and the kids loved it. But if you don't do that now, you're not going to do that in December. You're not going to go do it. And it's not going to happen. Every realtor out there has said, I'm going to do amazing Christmas cards. And then it got close to Christmas and they're like, all right, maybe they're going to be New Year cards. And it slides to New Year. And then they're like, oh, wait, I didn't hit that. So now they're going to be Valentine's Day cards. And then it's like, oh, hell, next year. You have to do that stuff right now. This is where you grab a calendar and you go, nope, this has to happen in September.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. So just really planning a strong finish to the year, focus more on starting the year strong by doing the right activities in Q4, right? That's going to start you out for Q1 in 2022, but plan them now, right? Because there's so many touches around that too, that you can do when you do something like that.
Well, and let's not forget touches that have nothing to do with asking for business.
That's right.
Trust me, everybody, they know that you're a real estate agent. They get it. You don't have to tell them again and again and again and again and again. Right. And the thing is, for me, I have no problem making contacts all day, every day, if they're helping people. I have a massive problem making contacts all day, every day, if it's not. Then it becomes a battle of attrition. And I usually lose. I won't stay in the game long enough. But as long as I'm helping people, I got no problem making the next 200 calls. Doesn't bother me at all because I know that I'm helping. As long as I'm helping, then I have no opposition. When I oppose lead generation, what I've learned is stop, just quit it and go back and figure out why I'm doing it and who it's helping. When I figure that out, then it's no problem. Right now, we did this last year. We're going to do it again this year. Go and buy 100 Christmas trees. You'll get them at a discount and give them to low-income families. But the way you do it is you call your database and you say, hey, I bought 100 Christmas trees. I'm going to give them away on this day. Who do you know that you want to gift one to? Who could use one this year? I'll do it in your name. No one has to know, whatever. I'm going to go do it. But you're going to make 1,000 calls to get rid of the 100 Christmas trees. And you're never going to ask for business, but you won't need to because of the amount of business you end up with. But if you don't go do that today, you're not going to do that in December. You got to have that stuff figured out right now.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And that coming from contribution, it's a mindset thing though, because so many agents block lead gen because it's like, hey, who do you know who wants to buy, sell, or list, invest in real estate today?
Because it's lame.
That's lame. Exactly. I wouldn't.
And it sucks. No one's going to do that for 20 years. And if somebody does, I don't want to.
Yeah. And you don't like that call. If that's that call, they're going to stop answering the phone. But when you call coming from contribution and honestly checking in right. And coming from what you're doing about like, let's find 100 homes that we can help that need a Christmas tree that probably wouldn't have one otherwise. Who can we help? Everyone wants to help. Right. And so you make it a we thing too. You're not just taking the win, you're allowing your database to win with you. Right. Which is pretty brilliant.
It's the idea of the book that Adam Grant wrote, Give and Take.
Yeah.
Give. I'm going to take some referrals. Cool. Perfect. People like working with people like that. People want to help the guy or the gal who's doing that stuff. By the way, if you're going to give away 100 Christmas trees, it won't be hard to get on the news for free.
It's true.
You can't buy publicity like that. It's not for sale,
but
it is for earn. And so you have to go do the work to earn it. And that's going to be the best that you could possibly get. Like you get one shot at these things every year. Now's the time to do it. I missed the one this year for back to school, but I won't miss it next year.
Yeah. I love it. So thinking ahead, right? Always staying ahead of how you can intentionally give. I love that. Okay. Last question. And then I'm going to draw a card and we're going to open up because I know you have a hard stop at 10:40. So how do you know when you're winning, Cody?
Breathing. Like for me, it's like if I'm alive, I'm still winning. You can't have, like I talked to someone yesterday, they said, I'm having a bad day. And I didn't say it, but I thought, you dumbass, you woke up, you're not dead. How are you having a bad day? You didn't wake up dead. There's somebody who's going to wake up dead today and it's not you. So let's just have perspective on this.
Yeah.
Like you might have, and the only problems are just surprises that you didn't want to have. And so just make peace with that and be like, all right, I'm alive, I'm here. So as long as we get that clear, we can't have a bad day. Like it doesn't happen. If I'm helping people and if I could see somebody else's world, life, business, relationship, whatever, if I can see it moving up, then I'm winning with people. And if I can win with people, I'll eventually win in business. At the end of the day, this still becomes a contest of, can you help enough people get where they want to go? And if you can, then you can do anything.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. Okay, before we open it up for just a couple questions, I have these cards, Cody.
That's fun.
I thought for fun because it said, what's your word? I don't know if you know these. These are super fun to like be in a group with, but I was going to draw. I wish if you were here, I would have you pick one, but I was going to pick one. Okay. And the question is, what is one of the kindest things someone has ever done for you?
Oh my gosh. I was 15 years old and I was working at Kmart. And what I had found was I found a way to waste my time. And so I was laying on a lawn chair, drinking a Coke that I stole from the store, and everybody liked me. So I got away with everything.
Of course.
And this guy walks up to me and he goes, hey, I'm Randy, the new store owner. And I'm like, the new store manager. And I'm like, cool. And he goes, I've heard two things. One, you're really likable. Two, you're lazy and you stole that Coke. You're fired. And I was like, all right. I went and I clocked out. I walked to the front door of the store, Melanie, and he was standing there. And he was 1 foot inside the store. And he stopped me and he said, you get one shot. He said, you walk out this store, you can't come back. But if you want to start over today, I'll teach you everything I know. And that guy, for the next 2 years, we worked like that. And everything changed for me. Everything changed. I became the youngest manager at the time in Kmart history. Ultimately realized retail was not for me. But what he taught me about business and people and life, Couldn't, I mean, that was the kindest thing anybody had ever done. Fired my ass and gave me a second shot.
That gave me chills, my friend. That is amazing. What a gift. And it's awesome that you were open to receiving it.
Right? I had nowhere else to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
The alternative was bleak.
Yeah. That's amazing. Wow. I love that. Okay. So I know that we have 3 minutes. So if anyone has a question, go ahead and unmute yourself. If anybody has a question for Cody, this is your chance from our studio audience. What you guys got?
Hi, Cody. This is Jasdeep Singh. How are you?
Good. Thank you.
Let me start my video so you can
see a face. You're a real person.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Yeah, he just joined our north. Yeah, there you go. Okay, he just joined our north location. What you got? Welcome.
So, Cody, this is the chance that I had the pleasure of listening to you speak, because I wanted to join Ignite and I could not. And then I was able to join your class. So I'm a new agent, right? Been 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm overwhelmed right now, like any other new agent would be, with the amount of technology and things to do. And I already have a pipeline of about 10 people, most of whom are buyers, and I have one possible listing coming up. But I'm perplexed. There's so many videos to watch. It could be a CMA video, it could be this, it could be that, and I'm not able to prioritize properly that, okay, what should I do? And I'm also don't want to be stuck for the next month and a half just watching videos, because I know in the long term, these things, all these videos and coaching classes will lead me to success. I know it's very important, but in the short term, I have so many things that I want to do where I'm not able to do it right away. So what would be your advice to me as a new agent?
My advice, can I be level 10 direct?
Level 12, maybe.
Okay, cool. All right. You asked for it.
This guy has big goals. This guy has big goals. So do it.
So here it is. I think you should never, ever use the term again, new agent. Okay. Stop it. The only time someone says new agent is there's something internally that says, I can't do this or I can't do that because I'm new. Like, it's almost like, no, put yourself back in your place. You're a new guy. You're a new agent. Like, that's why we say those things. It's to justify why we're not doing this or that. Here's the deal. Being an incredible real estate agent is being a human. And this is not your first day at that. You are not new at being a human. And so as long as you're willing to put your foot there and go, nope, I'm going to be human to the most amount of people, and I'm going to help the most amount of people I can, this is not your first day at that. You could be the best veteran in the room when it comes to that. And so what you have to realize is this isn't new. You're not new. This is just the next step in your career, the next step in your life. Never, ever utter the words new agent again, because it never serves anybody. It never moves somebody forward.
Sure. Thank you.
So really it comes down to time management, right? And just decide, make a decision every day to knock something out and then get into action, right? Get into activity. And I think that's where you'll balance out.
I don't know why. I don't know how as an industry or how as a people we forgot one day that an inch forward is still forward.
That's right.
Like, maybe you made an inch today. Maybe you made a foot today. I'm going to have some days I get a yard, and I'm going to have some days I get an inch, and I'm going to have a day that I get a millimeter. But you know what? It's still forward, damn it. I'm not where I was.
Yeah.
And you can't beat somebody who doesn't stop. And so as long as we're okay with it taking as long as it needs to take, and I'm on a journey and I have to learn something, I'm good. Like, I'm all the way good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think, overwhelm is just, it's another thing that just shuts people down. And you just have to ask yourself every day, how am I getting into action? How am I getting into action? Because when you're in action, you're in control, right? When you're overwhelmed, you're in the world is happening to me. When I'm in action, I'm going to watch these 3 videos every day, and I'm going to go talk. I'm going to go learn about 5 neighborhoods in Austin. Right? You're going to always balancing the two. Right?
Pick something, move forward. Pick something, move forward. Pick something, move forward. You put 200 of those days together, you can be wherever you want to be.
That's right. I love that.
You put 5,000 of those days together, you could have a private plane. It doesn't matter. How many people do you want to help?
Right.
Sure.
That's awesome. All right. We're over time, Cody. You have to jump to your call. Do you have time for one more question?
I got time for one more.
Okay. One last question. Last question from any of I know we've got some Hi, Olivia.
Hi.
Did you have a
I've
question?
been watching on Facebook, and so I'm not just totally late to the party. Okay.
Do you know Olivia? Cody, do you know Olivia?
Hi.
Olivia was an attorney at KWI. She's an agent with us at the North, and she's crushing it.
Perfect.
Hi, how are you? It's good to see you.
Thank you.
So yeah, I was with KWI for 7 years. I'm washed in the blood. I drank the Kool-Aid a long time ago. And now that I've kind of, I've switched, I've been a full-time agent for 2 years. I've also been able to help people do some of their franchise stuff. That's like a separate business that I have. I have a huge opportunity in finding out what my why is. You know, I listened to I said I was on Facebook listening, and I was just like, wow, you know, that's so big for me. I have literally like gotten probably like 60% of the way there on my why lots of times, and never all the way gotten there because where we talk about people being afraid to actually say what they really want, I want to be laying on a beach somewhere. Like, I mean, is that awful? I mean, so that's really my why. And I know that that's, so you do the, okay, well, that's what 5 years from now, what's 2.5 years from now, and work back. Got all of that. Like, again, I'm super programmed in all of these things, but it's kind of like this short-term thing. I mean, killing, I love it, and that's my thing. I love helping people. So we're really on the same page on that. Just being able to love on them.
I think there's two or three. I think there's 2 or 3 things here. I think the first thing is this: nobody knows what their big why is, and we should all quit thinking that somebody does. Because the moment that we think that, what it causes is this self-judgment of how come I don't know mine? Damn it, Melanie knows hers. That's why she's so successful. How come I don't know mine? And that creates self-condemnation, and that creates judgment. Here's how I say it to myself. I don't need to know my big why because I don't know my future. If I find out that one of my daughters is sick tomorrow with a terminal cancer, guess what happens? I got a new big why. Yeah. And I don't know what the future has, and so I don't pretend to predict it. And I don't pretend to know what it looks like. There's parts of my life and parts of my future that are not written by me. And so I have to be okay with walking through it. So here's what I do say to myself. My current purpose, which is big why, my current purpose is ABC. And I'm going to work on that until I have a bigger purpose I didn't know about. There's things I'm doing today that I didn't know existed 10 years ago. And so if I would have had my big why figured out 10 years ago, and thank God I didn't, because if I'd had my big why figured out a decade ago, I might not have been open to something that's happening today. And so I feel like we get down this rabbit hole of you got to know all these things. Who knows these things? I don't know. You look down and you go, oh, I'm getting married, or I'm getting divorced, or this happened, or the whole world changed overnight last March, like blah, blah, like all the stuff. And so what I'm really clear on is my current purpose is this. And for most of us, what it comes down to at the end of the day is significance. Even if it's laying on the beach somewhere, my guess is you have to have significance in people's lives in order to go lay on a beach someday. And so there's nothing wrong with the beach, but it's what needs to happen to be able to do it. My other guess around this is if you take someone like you and we plopped you on a beach and said, here you are, enjoy, you'd be like, yes, for about a week. And then you'd be bored.
Right.
And Mel and I would come back by, and you will have taken a bunch of driftwood and built a bar and been like, well, now I have a bar on the beach. And then you'd be like, well, and then a paddleboard, like it showed up one day, so I rented it out to somebody. And then I rented it out the second day, and then I bought 10 of them, and now I have a paddleboard business. Like, you are not going to go lay on a beach for very long. Just get over that.
Okay.
You're going to be selling margaritas at a margarita shack because you don't know how not to do it.
Maybe Olivia just needs a week at the beach without kids.
Right, yeah.
Right now.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the right now. What's my purpose? ABC is to give myself a breather
Which
so I
is
can catch my
perfect.
breath. Yeah, it's perfect. So go to the beach for a week, and then everything might look differently. I love that. I love that. Cody, I know you
Thank
have to
you.
run. Thank you, Olivia. I'm glad you hopped on to ask that. Thank you. You guys, thanks for being on the call today. Cody, I know you got to get going where you're going, but wow, so many nuggets. Can't wait to listen to that. If you give it enough time, you can win at anything. That was one of my favorite quotes that you said.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're amazing. Thank you for being in our
you.
world. All right. Thanks for
Pleasure.
watching,
Cody, thank you,
everybody.
Melanie.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Go play to
Bye-bye.
win.